there's going to come a day when my novel is on the New York Times bestsellers list, and I'm going to be able to come back to these videos and be able to remember where it started. Hello, my friends. Welcome to my new video. If you're new around here, my name is Annie. Thank you so much for joining me on my journey in seeking a cozy life. If you've been around here for a bit, watched my vlogs, you'll know I have many cozy hobbies, all the cozy hobbies, and one of them you've heard me talk about has been writing. So today I really wanted to share with you guys what it's like to be a fantasy writer. While I'm not published yet, I am writing a novel that I really want to see published. Like, being published is actually a dream of mine from, gosh, as far back as I can remember. Well, I started telling stories when I was like 5, and my dad and I would go hiking and I would tell him this long story all the way down the mountain. And then as soon as I could type and my parents actually let me on their computer, I started writing because I grew up watching my mom write novels and nonfiction as well. And with her being an English teacher and homeschooling me, she really did put a lot of emphasis on that. And so not only does it come naturally to me and I have that modeled for me, it is actually something I am very passionate about. In high school, I was part of a writing group online. I took a break. We'll just say I took a break because I wrote and wrote and wrote like it was a constant in my life for so long. However, as I got older and got a full-time job and like all these different things, writing kind of became less important. But in October of 2020, I had a dream and it was so real. I woke up and I was like, I feel like I just lived this. I'm not going to go into it in this video. I'll save that for my next video where I actually talk about my main writing project right now. But suffice it to say, I knew I had to turn it into a story. I knew that experience of living in that world, in that dream for, in the dream it was days. I knew that it had to be the foundation of something awesome. And so I started writing. Fast forward to now, 4.5 years later. And with that project in particular, I'm almost halfway through. I'm at about 40,000 words, a little bit over. And my goal for that novel is about 90. So it is coming along. It's been very slow. The last 2 years have been so crazy that I haven't had the bandwidth to write as much as I would like. I've also had some health issues, dealing with brain fog, long COVID, and some other things. But in the meantime, I have been working on it. I've been dreaming. I've been writing down ideas, building this world, and it's lived in my brain for all this time. So anyway, I have some questions from friends that I would love to go through and just kind of share with you a little bit of a look into what it's like to be a fantasy writer. So without further ado, let's dive in. Okay, so first question. What inspired you to write in the fantasy genre? This is actually a really fun answer, and I'm actually just going to show it to you because it's this book right here. This right here is the reason I got into reading and the reason I got into writing fantasy. So this is a 2001 copy of The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. My mom took me to the mall. We went to Walden Books. She bought me this. I was 11. So I'm dating myself right now. She was like, this series and this author were some of my favorite in college, and I think you would like it. If you finish it, then I'll get you the next one. This was $6.99, a trade paperback. You can see how well loved it was. This is from when I was in my dog earing era. Anything that I liked, I dog eared. So this book has a lot of them. I finished this book in 1 week. And my love affair with fantasy began. And it's honestly the reason my first tattoo says, "Not all who wander are lost." And having the privilege of growing up with such an amazing example of what fantasy can be and what it can do, that was all the inspiration I needed. And I've been writing fantasy ever since. Next question. What is it like to try and publish a book? So even though the novel I'm working on now, I'm still very much writing and I have not started to look for an agent yet. Back in 2009, I did self-publish a novel. Now, it's out of print now, and the reason that I took it down was because it was religious, and I'm no longer religious, so it doesn't really align with my values anymore. I did have the idea to pick it up someday and completely revamp it because the overall idea behind it is really badass, and I loved that story so much. But anyway, that's for another day. So what I can speak to is the process of getting something that you have poured your heart and soul into ready, where you feel like it is good enough for the world to read, is one of the most difficult things I've ever done. It's tedious. You cry. You might get angry because your favorite part makes perfect sense in your mind, but in other people's minds, it's like, what the heck is even happening? Like, I'm completely lost. Yeah, you have to be open to constructive criticism, which at the time I was not. So even though my family were my editors, it was really hard. It was so hard. Maybe it was harder because they were my family. Like, I took it so personally, and of course, a lot of that has to do with where I was then versus where I am now, where I can actually take constructive criticism now. So I've grown a lot. So who knows, maybe when it comes time for me to publish this novel, it'll be a lot easier on that count. But back then, it was really stinking hard. And it felt like editing would never end. It felt like there was always something else. Oh, I've gone through this passage 25 times. How is that typo still there? So that part of it, when you're in the weeds and you're like trying to develop the plot and the characters and make sure everything makes sense to people and everything is written well and there aren't typos and grammar is correct and formatting and all of that, like, it was really, really hard. Now, I will say I am looking forward to getting traditionally published because I will work with a professional editor and an agent, and I will work with people who will do the formatting for me. Stuff like that. Because when you self-publish, like, I had to do everything. My family helped me edit, but then I had to learn how to format, how to print the book, and I went through Amazon. Basically, it was print on demand. So I had to work with a friend on cover art, all of, like, everything myself. And that was really overwhelming, but also so gratifying. And when I got the final copy of my novel, like my printed copy in the mail, dude, I cried. I cried. So I can only imagine, I've heard a lot about how hard it can be to find an agent. And then from there, how hard it can be to find a publishing house to actually take your book and do all the magic. And I'm actually looking forward to that because having done it all myself, it was a lot. And I'm looking forward to the challenge of going the traditional route. So anyway, that was kind of long-winded, but I wanted to kind of give my unique perspective as somebody who has self-published and who is now looking to traditionally publish. Next question is, what is the most rewarding thing about being an author, and what is the most challenging? I would say that the most rewarding thing is when you are able to take something that you are in love with. Because in order to write a good story, you really do have to be in love with it. You really do. You have to love the characters like family. You have to be inside their heads and know them like your best friend. You have to be in that world like it's real life. Taking that and putting words on a page in such a way that the thing that you love is experienced by someone else, and they find, even if it's just a few hours of entertainment, where they can escape real life for a little bit and just rest, go on an adventure while their body rests. Like, I love it. Like, I've shared some of this novel with friends. It's been so rewarding, even though I've only shared a few chapters. Hearing how they enjoyed it and can't wait to read more, like, that is so rewarding. And I can only imagine once it's published, like, the idea of so many people seeing it and hearing what I have to say, seeing and experiencing my dreams and this world that's living inside my head, I feel like that's going to be even more rewarding. As far as the most challenging, battling perfectionism. My inner editor. My inner editor wants to write the prose as it shall be read by the world. And that's just not how writing goes. That's what editing is for. So learning how to lock my inner editor away and throw away the key and not let her back out, no matter how much she bangs on the door. I would say that is the most challenging. And even now, even though I've been writing for almost 25 years, I still deal with that. In the future, maybe I'll find my secret method of keeping her out for good. But until then, that's the most challenging. Next question is, what advice would you give to someone who wants to get started on their writing journey? Just do it. If you find yourself, whether it's from a dream you had or a random idea that pops into your head in the shower, and you're like, dang, I wish that was a book. That would be really cool. Or you just have this gut feeling, this story needs to be told. Just start writing. Whether it's by hand, which is technically how I started because my mom would only let me use her computer to type every so often because she was on it all the time. Or if it's on a tablet, or if it's on a computer, or whatever, just start putting words on a page. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be perfect, for sure. It doesn't have to make sense to anyone but you. And if the story needs to be told, no one else can tell this story but you. So just do it. Even if it's just for you and nobody else ever sees it for the eternity, literally, even if it's just for you, just start writing. Because for me, I wrote so many fan fictions for Lord of the Rings, short stories. I have so many notebooks full of my old messy handwriting where I wrote fan fictions about Frodo and Legolas and Arwen and Galadriel and all these characters that I loved that Tolkien created. And even though I will never do anything with those, because obviously fanfic, and obviously 12-year-old me wrote them, they laid the foundation for where I am now. Just taking the stories, the ideas that I had. Oh, what if Frodo had done this instead? What if Arwen hadn't been there when this happened? That got me started. And then from there, I was able to pull inspiration from anywhere, including my dreams. What if there was a girl who could turn into a dragon and this happened? You never know what could come of you just putting words on a page. Next question is, what challenges do you face when writing fantasy, especially in terms of staying consistent with the rules of your world? I think the biggest challenge that I face when writing fantasy is I want everyone to be able to do everything. I want everyone to be telepathic and telekinetic and be able to fly and blah, 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 blah. And that would just be boring because everyone would be the same. As I have world built and I have established certain races and what they can do, that has helped me differentiate my characters a lot more. But still, staying within the confines of these, it really is hard. Sometimes I'll be writing and I'll be like, and they did blah, blah, blah. And oh, wait, no. They're this race. They can't do that. And I have to backspace and go back and fix it. So, as far as, the rules of my world, the main rules that I have are basically that certain races can and cannot use certain magics. So, as long as I stay in that, I'm good. But it's really hard sometimes. So the next question is actually related to that, and it is, can you tell us about your world building process? So my world building process is nonlinear. Typically, the idea for a story will come to me and I start writing. and feeling out the world as I go. And then once the story gets to a certain point where I'm like, okay, I need to be able to keep track of things. I need to establish some guidelines to follow so that, again, not every character, every race, every creature seems the same. Like, that's when I really start digging into the world. I have to be in it in order to actually build it, which I feel is so backwards from how a lot of writers do it. I feel like, I honestly, being neurodiverse, I feel like I do a lot of things very, very differently. So like, when you hear about, this great author, they outline everything, they build their world this way, and all that. And I'm like, I'm just not that structured. That's not how I think. I am everywhere. And in order to really build my world, I have to be in it. I really have to live in it for a little while and figure out what it's like. Then I'm able to say, this is this way, this is that way. This race can use this magic, this race cannot. And all of that. So in order to keep everything straight, I do have a Notion dashboard that I've created where I can make notes of creatures, races, characters, places, scene ideas I have, like all of that. And it helps me keep everything organized, but I don't get to that point until I've actually written enough to know where I'm going, to know what the world is like. I hope that makes some modicum of sense. So the next question is actually another related question to that, and that is, how do you develop your characters, and do you have a specific process for creating them? It's the same thing. And anyone who has done writing or role played or played D&D, anything like that where you actually develop a character, you may understand what I'm about to say, where for me, my characters tell me who they are. I just started playing around with another novel. And I did not know anything about my main character except her race, that she has a chronic illness, and her name. I started writing. And as I was writing an interaction that she was having, that was when her personality started coming out. I had no idea. I don't know if you would call it method writing. I don't know what the term is, but I do not ever decide, except for like a villain maybe, I do not ever decide what my character will be like. I let them tell me. So as they come up against challenges, sometimes I don't know how they're going to respond until it just happens on the page. Like, so maybe, is that method writing? Like method acting, you really get into it? I don't know what the term is, but that's how I create my characters. I'm like, oh, this person just appeared out of nowhere. Okay. There are twin sisters in the story. I didn't know who they were, what race they were. I didn't even know that they were going to be twins. I didn't even know that they were going to be there until she is literally on her way somewhere and decides to stop in. As she's interacting with them, it's like, yeah, this is who they are. Okay, cool. And then I knew, okay, this is their race. These are their names. This is how they are. This is their occupation. Yeah, my characters just tell me who they want to be. Leading from that, somebody asked, are your characters based on anyone? I don't want to give spoilers, so I'm not going to go too into it, but I will say, for one character, I did pull from the appearance of one of my favorite video game characters. Obviously changed like everything about him. Like for multiple characters, I definitely pull from real life actors and characters that they portrayed in like a show or a movie or whatever that I really liked, like their interpretation. So you could say like they look like the actor, but my character pulls inspiration from their portrayal of whoever they're playing. That's not necessarily the character. It's how they translated the character. So it's kind of an interesting, because you could have the same film that's been made like 5 times, and every single time the actor playing a certain role is going to do it differently. So I do that sometimes, and then the rest of my characters, they just kind of pop up out of nowhere somewhere in my brain and tell me who they want to be. So backtracking a little bit to kind of like the world building topic. Somebody asked, what role does research play in your writing, especially when creating magical systems? I actually do very little research. I think that the most I have really researched was looking up mythical creatures, like folk tales, things like that. For example, I think this is going to stay in the novel. It's in the first draft that I started, but I haven't gotten back to that in the second draft, so I don't know if it's still going to be in there, but probably because I really liked the sequence. But anyway, there's a banshee that comes into the story, and I was like, it just happened, and I was like, wait a minute, I don't really know about banshees. Literally writing along, and all of a sudden this banshee appears, and I'm like, all I know is they do something with their voice and blah blah blah, and I'm like, do I pull from the actual like folk tale, like, or do I just do my own thing and like call it a banshee with the same kind of like basic rudimentary, oh, they scream, they wail, and then everything else I write, like, I don't pull from the. So I did research it, and then I decided I was going to do a mixture of both. I was going to pull a little bit from the folklore, but put my own complete spin on it and turn it into my own thing. As far as like the magical systems though, it's very much going back to what I said earlier, where basically I just decide, or the characters decide for me, oh, this character can turn into a fox. That needs to be something that only people who can use her type of magic can do. Okay, that kind of thing. So yeah, there's not really a whole lot of research. That could change in the future. I have played around with other ideas where, you know, there are other worlds that I could write where, you know, it's more of like, what is it? Serpent and Dove, where certain types of magic, like blood magic, basically have a cost. I think that would be really interesting. But right now, that's not in my world. So it's like, I'm just making it up as I go along. Okay, so this is an interesting question, and the answer is probably going to be really short. Can you share your writing routine or habits that help you stay productive? I actually don't have a writing routine or habits right now. I think that'll change because I do feel like soon I'm going to be taking it more seriously, like I need to. Like it's going to be a bigger part of my life, something that I really need to be pursuing. However, in the seasons that I've been in and the current season that I'm in now, there's just been so much growth happening, and I have been needing to use my somewhat limited, very limited energy on other things. So maybe that can be something that I revisit once I'm in a place where I can have a routine and really take writing more seriously. And then the last question is, what is something you are super proud of in your book without giving spoilers? This is hard. Okay, I think I've got it. I think that it is the fact that I decided to make my main character bi. I am bi myself, and that is a part of my identity which was not okay in my religious upbringing. And so it's only been as an adult coming out of religion that I was able to truly embrace it. And being able to represent that part of myself, being able to represent other bi women and LGBT in general through a main character, I'm super proud of myself for deciding to do that. Wow, I cannot believe it. We got through all of the questions and I wasn't here for 5 hours. So I hope that this video was interesting and fun, and I cannot wait to film another one specifically about the main novel that I'm writing. Although, as I mentioned, I did start another one in the same world, so that's kind of cool, that may or may not take priority over the other one as far as pursuing publication. I'm trying to decide which one I really want to go for because, well, I'll go through that in the next video. So on that note, if you haven't subscribed, definitely do that because I will be talking more about my novels and my writing in the future and sharing more about what it's like to be a cozy romantasy writer. So, and honestly, like, I am really excited to document all of this, not only to share with you guys, but also for myself, because there's going to come a day when my novel is on the New York Times bestsellers list, and I'm going to be able to come back to these videos and be able to remember where it started and track this whole journey. Like, I want to share this entire journey with you guys. On that note, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay cozy!